Hello and welcome to another SkaredCast unit by unit review. Today we look at the first troop choice of the new Drukhari Codex, the Kabalite Warriors. They are the backbone of any Cabal. Let's take a look at the unit. Hello and welcome to another SkaredCast unit by unit video. Today we continue our look at the different units in the Drukhari Codex, and I am Skari, your grateful host, the fancy Archon, the true Archon, the one and only original Archon. We're here talking about the next installment, the humble Kabalite Warrior, the backbone of any of the Drukhari Cabals. So, let's dive right in. Now, this video is in two parts, like any of the others in the tactical unit-by-unit series. So check the links down below if you want to know more. First, I talk about the lore of the Kabalite Warriors, and then we discuss their unit entry to give you a better understanding, to not only become better with Kabalite Warriors, but also learn how to fight against them if your opponents regularly use the Drukhari. So, let's dive right in, shall we? Kabalite Warriors. The warriors of the Cabals form the beating black heart, of every Drukhari strike force. It takes a born killer to thrive in the constant strife of the Dark City, after all, and still only a chosen few enjoy the privilege of striking at the heavily defended worlds of real space and returning with the living, screaming bounty their Cabal requires for survival. The most martially gifted Drukhari of each sector are selected to become Kabalite warriors. Male or female, warriors are tall and athletically built. Much of the bodysuit that they wear in combat is held in place with long metal barbs and hooks that penetrate deep into the wearer's nerve bundles, sharpening their senses with a constant sting of pain. It is pain that energizes Kabalite warriors. To this end, they carry a wide variety of exotic and fiendish weapons. A Splinter Rifle, for example, slays its target over several excruciating seconds, allowing the grinning wielder to savor their agonizing demise as a connoisseur savors a fine wine. Through the distilled poisons of the splinter weapon, though the distilled poisons of the splinter weapon can bring down even the most biological terrors of the Tyranid hive fleets, it's of very little use against enemy vehicles. The blaster is a particular favorite for this, for it can cripple even a rhino with but a single squeeze of the trigger. Though all Kabalite warriors are expert combatants at close quarters, few have influence needed to ensure regeneration in the layers of the homunculi, so they try and shoot stuff instead of get nice and close with the enemy. Enterprising operators use mnemic scopes to record such moments, replaying the resultant hollow ghosts upon their return and basking in the envy of their peers, aka they all wear GoPros to battle and then share it with their buddies. Awesome. Each squad of Kabalite warriors is led to war by a Saberite, typically the most experienced of their number. Saberite's orders are obeyed to the letter upon the battlefield, for they are masters in the craft of war. The Kabalite warrior is the mainstay of any Kabalite force, and they will be what you base most of your collection around, unless, of course, you're a cult enthusiast or a Cabal enthusiast, a Coven enthusiast, which you will get eventually, and will be the next couple of videos in the series. But let's look at the basic Kabalite warrior unit. Now, the Kabalite warrior is your epitome of Drukhari-ness in terms of strength, toughness, agility. They have very good stats, but are not exactly resilient per se in comparison to an orc or a space marine. They do move 7 inches, decent movement. They have a weapon skill and ballistic skill of 3. They have both a strength and toughness of 3. They have 1 wound apiece, a single attack, and a decent leadership at leadership 7, with a 5+ Kabalite Warrior armor save. The Sabrite is essentially the same, with an extra point of leadership and an extra attack in close combat. This unit, it's 6 points for Kabalite Warrior, so 30 points for 5, 90 points for 10, 90 points, 60 points for 10, and 120 points for 20. Very cool in large units, but a little bit susceptible to morale, although only for a short little bit, as we will get to in a second. The unit contains a single Sabrite and 4 Kabalite Warriors, and can go up to 20 strong. So you can have 5, 10, 15, or 20 strong. Each model is armed with a Splinter Rifle, the basic weapon, and a Splinter Rifle is a 24-inch rapid-fire 1 weapon that is damage 1, no AP, and is a poison weapon. So against anything that is not a vehicle, it wounds on a 4+. Exceptionally good against high toughness targets like monstrous creatures, but not as good against armored targets such as rhinos. Although, in this edition, it actually can hurt vehicles, whereas before, it just bounced off harmlessly. War gear options. Now this is where it gets interesting. The Kabalite Warrior unit is your basic troop choice. They are a troop, and therefore you can essentially adapt them to exactly what you need for your Cabal. So based around what the other characters and other units in your army will do, you can use them to the best capacity. They can be run as a horde, they can be run as a mid-range skirmishing unit, they can be run as a small MSU style unit, so you choose. Let me know down below in the comments which one you prefer. How do you like to use your Kabalite Warriors in real space? The Sabrite may take a Power Sword or an Agonizer. An Agonizer is a poison weapon, wounds on 4+, but it is AP -2. And a Power Sword is strength of user, so strength 3, and it's AP -3. Now, cool thing is, you take a Power Sword or Agonizer, the Sabrite does not lose his Splinter Rifle, which is very important, as Splinter Rifles are the mainstay of any good Kabalite Warrior. The Sabrite as well may take a Phantasm Grenade Launcher. Now this is a weapon that used to be available for the Archons as well, but they took it away from the characters. And it's an 18-inch weapon. It's Assault D3, and it's only Strength 1 and 1 damage. It has a really cool ability, however. If a unit is hit by a Phantasm Grenade Launcher, it subtracts 1 from its leadership characteristic until the end of the turn. Now this is one of the ways that you can really help with the leadership negative debuffs, which is a theme in a lot of Drukhari units. It's also very cool to use a really cool stratagem called the Torment Grenade, which before you shoot with your Phantasm Grenade Launcher, you spend a command point, and after applying the effects of the Phantasm Grenade Launcher, you roll 3d6, and if you exceed the leadership characteristic of the unit you are shooting at, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. Great way to target some tanks if they only have 1 or 2 wounds left, to try and get that last wound off a tank by scaring the guys inside to death. Very cool little piece of gear. Now, you can use that later in the game with the Aura from Power from Pain to get a -2 on certain units. And towards the end of the game, if you have a few models left or you have bigger units that you want to try run away, the Phantasm Grenade Launcher can be quite handy. The Sabrite may replace their Splinter Rifle with a Splinter Pistol or a Blast Pistol. So if you want, you could just run a Blast Pistol, which is an extra anti-tank weapon or anti-tough thing weapon, or a Splinter Pistol, which would be free. Which I don't know why you would take that, because it doesn't really give you any benefit whatsoever other than shooting in combat. For every 10 models in the unit, for every 10, so a unit of 10, 1, for a unit of 20, 2, one Kabalite Warrior may replace their Splinter Rifle with a Splinter Cannon or a Dark Lance. Splinter Cannon is a 36-inch range rapid-fire 3 poison weapon. So within 18 inches, they're shooting 6 shots, which can be handy, and it's relatively cheap at 10 points. And the Dark Lance, which is a 36-inch, strength 8, -4, d6 damage, heavy 1 weapon. It's more of an anti-tank weapon. Now, they are my favorite to run in Kabalite Warrior units of 20 or more, with 2 Dark Lances, or in a 10-man unit in a Raider, with a Dark Lance and a Dark Lance. Then you can have 1 in every 5 models in the Kabalite Warrior unit can have a blaster or a shredder instead of their Splinter Rifle. Now, historically, I go with blasters, but the more and more I've been loving the shredder. Shredders are really fun against infantry. Now, the blaster is an 18-inch range Assault 1 weapon, D6 damage, Strength 8, -4 AP. It's an anti-tank weapon at 18 inches. It's a little bit expensive, almost as expensive as a Dark Lance, but you can have 1 in a 5-man unit, 2 in a 10-man unit, 3 in a 15-man unit, and 4 in a 20-man unit. So, a 20-man unit can have 4 blasters and 2 Dark Lances for about 140 points. 240 points for 20. That is a couple of dead tanks or a couple of dead units. Considering you can deep strike them with the Webway portal, it can be rather nasty. Now, the shredder is about half the points of a blaster. It's a 12-inch range, D6 shots, Strength 6, -1 AP weapon that rerolls wounds against infantry. This can be quite handy. 4 shredders within 12 inches do 4d6 shots. It's about 12 to 14 shots on average. 14 shots is about the average. Hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s or 2s, rerolling 1s against infantry. Great way to shred small enemy infantry units or even hordes of infantry with relative ease. So, they're quite versatile. You can make them for anti-infantry, anti-monstrous creature, or anti-tank. And that is up to you on how you decide to run them. They also work great inside of dedicated transports like Venoms or Raiders. So take your pick and let me know down below. Do you prefer the Raider or the Venom? That was a topic that we discussed on a tactical video exclusive for the Patreons. Raider or Venom? If you'd like to know more about Patreon, check the link down below. So now we go into the abilities. They have one ability, and that's Power from Pain. That's the basic Drukhari ability. On turn 1, they have a 6+ Feel No Pain, which can come in handy to keep 1 or 2 alive. They also, turn 2, re-roll their charge ranges and their advance distances, making them very good at traversing the board or getting stuck in if they need to. On turn 3, they get +1 to their weapon skill, so they're hitting things in 2s in close combat. Never underestimate a unit of Kabalite Warriors when ganging up against some units in combat. In turn 4, they become fearless. They ignore morale, which makes larger units of Kabalite Warriors amazing if they are not targeted early in the game. Now, using obsessions such as the Obsidian Rose, which allows them to pass morale easier by shooting stuff, or the Cabal of the Black Heart, which increases the Power from Pain by 1, making them fearless by turn 3. Very, very useful in combat situations on the tabletop. And turn 5, it's -1 leadership to -1 leadership to every enemy unit within 6. You can use it in conjunction with something like a Phantasm Grenade Launcher, or some of the cool Coven units, or even Grizzly trophies on your Raiders and Venoms. So, that is pretty much it for the Kabalite Warriors. If you'd like to know more, check the links below. Keep tuned, ask me questions, and remember, every Sunday we have a live feed here on YouTube where I just talk about the hobby, we discuss things, you can ask questions, and we normally get started around 9:30 or 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. This is Skari, your grateful host, the Fancy Archon. Till next time, Skari out. It's an exclusive. We're playing the game.